All right, folks, it's another episode of America's Hometown Horror, and tonight's episode is brought to you by Podgo. Podgo is the easiest way for you to monetize your podcast, providing podcasters with a flat rate for ad space so you always know how much you get when you include an ad from Podgo. Apply today to become a member and immediately be connected with advertisers that fit your audience. That's podgo.co at podgo.co, and be sure to mention America's Hometown Horror by name in the How Did You Hear About Podgo section of the application. That's podgo.co. So what's going on, folks? Another episode of America's Hometown Horror. My name is Mike, and thanks for tuning in to another episode of our show. And as usual, I am joined by my fellow co-hosts, Andrew and Kat, who I think we can see now. What's up, guys? How are you?
What's going on?
Not too much. And as you can see now, we are also joined by a very special guest tonight, and that is Amanda Woomer from Spook-Eats. Amanda, how are you?
I'm good. I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me on.
It's our pleasure. So I know, we've been trying to make this interview happen for a couple of months now.
Yeah.
Busy schedules, podcasting and stuff. And I know you are promoting a book. But so if you're a listener of our show or anyone that listens to our show knows that, we like to have fun. We're big supporters of the local Plymouth bar and restaurant scene. And we've also delved into some paranormal related activity type shows in the past, and we're hoping to do more of those in the future. And a few months back, came across Amanda's blog and Twitter account, and the subhead for her blog caught my attention because there were 3 topics in there that most people probably wouldn't make a connection to, and I thought it was just awesome. And that would be food, travel, and supernatural. So I thought that was just super cool. The blog is called Spook-Eats, and tonight we're happy enough to be joined by Amanda, blogger, paranormal investigator, author of multiple books, including her latest, The Feminine Macabre, a woman's journal of all things strange and unusual. So we're happy to have you. And we like to ask all of our guests just a couple of questions before we kick into some stuff about your books, about your website, just to kind of get a baseline of what type of horror fan you are. Does that sound okay to you, Amanda?
Sure.
All right. Awesome. So, first question. What is your favorite horror movie?
Oh, gosh.
I didn't want this to be
the question. I'm going to go with my knee-jerk reaction. So I'm going to say Halloween, just because it was the first horror movie that I saw that I knew was a horror movie, and I'm absolutely obsessed with the whole franchise. I absolutely love it. I'm a Michael Myers fanatic. So definitely Halloween. My guilty pleasure horror movie is Trick or Treat. I always consider it like the Christmas Carol of Halloween. I absolutely love that with little Sam Hain. So yeah, the newer Trick or Treat, not Trick or Treat.
Yeah,
Trick or Treat.
Both good choices.
Yes, but Trick or Treat is my guilty pleasure. So I'm a huge horror fanatic. So those are my 2 instant.
Yeah, 2 excellent choices. And those are actually 2 movies that we've covered on our show in the past. Actually, both this past October. And judging by the Krampus book that you've written, I'm sure you're familiar with the Trick or Treat cinematic universe that the Krampus movie takes place in the same thing as well, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I actually had no idea when I watched both of those movies at different times. I had no idea that it was the same universe. And then just this past year, I'm so ashamed to admit this, just this past year, my husband was like, oh, didn't you realize that they're in the same universe? And it blew my mind. So ashamed to admit that I didn't know that.
Well, I guess there was a deleted scene that they removed from Krampus that kind of would have been a direct tie to it. So I don't know. They probably should have shown a little bit more in there, but I wouldn't begrudge anybody for not noticing that right away. So again, both good choices. So
I didn't notice it either. So
well, I would say for the podcast when we were doing the research, we found it out then. But yeah. So okay. So what's the scariest movie that you've ever seen?
Oh gosh. Oh no. Okay.
It's a hard-hitting questions. I apologize.
It is. It's going to be, again, I'm going to go with the first one that pops into my mind, and it's an embarrassing one. But for me, it's Jaws 2.
Oh, wow.
And that's because I saw it before I ever saw Jaws 1, the original. But I just remember watching it, and that night not being able to sleep because, guys, there's a shark under my bed and it's coming to get me. And I was not a small child. I was probably 11 years old where like you're an idiot. There's not a shark under your bed. But it absolutely petrified me. Not to mention then I couldn't go into the pool by myself until I don't know how old I am today. I still don't go into the pool by myself because there's a shark in there, obviously. I mean, looking at it now, it's not a scary movie at all. But that was, for me, when I saw it, absolutely petrifying and like had lasting results in my adult life. So
clearly you don't go in pools anymore. So.
Yeah. I was going to say I can relate to that too. I still won't go up. I won't go out past my head in the ocean. I just can't do it. Jaws had too much of an impact on me. No way, not this time.
I don't go in the ocean. I don't go in lakes if you can't see the bottom. No thanks.
Yeah, there's all kinds of creatures out there. You never know what's lurking down there.
And there's a lot that we don't know about, like
cryptid, yeah, exactly. And we have a lot of great whites on the coast of Massachusetts out here too. They like to come and visit. So
I refrained from watching Jaws until I started dating Mike, and then Mike was like, "You haven't seen Jaws?" I'm like, "No, I have a beach house right on the water. I don't want to ruin my experience."
Yeah. No way.
Ruined.
All right, last tough question, Amanda. What's the most recent horror movie that you've seen?
Oh gosh, well, last night, my husband and I were horror movie fanatics, so every night when our baby goes to bed, we watch one. So we just watched The Fly for the first time. Cronenberg's The Fly.
The Jeff Goldblum Fly, yes.
Yes, and I was surprised. I was impressed. I was like, Jeff Goldblum, like you're kind of actually acting a little bit. I'm impressed. Gina Davis, you were fabulous. So just watch The Fly.
Yeah. Not one to watch on like while eating though, for sure.
And we were eating dinner, and like about like very shortly into it, I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna sit and actually just drink it in, just enjoy it, and I'm gonna eat later.
A good choice. A good choice. All right, so Amanda, I guess to start out, for those listening who might not be familiar with your site, can you tell us a little bit about Spook-Eats and what you do?
Sure. So Spook-Eats is a travel blog where we travel the country when there's not a pandemic happening, obviously, where we visit haunted restaurants, bars, and hotels. We try the food, we review the food, and then we also share the ghost stories. And this came from kind of a personal tragedy, I guess. I've always been interested in the paranormal. I had, a ghostly encounter when I was a little girl. And I think a lot of paranormal researchers and investigators have similar origin stories where you experience something as a child and then you're automatically weird for the rest of your life. That was me. And I was innocently curious about the paranormal. I would do little ghost hunts with my tape recorder and go to cemeteries, go on ghost tours and stuff. And in 2015, my younger brother, Jed, he passed away after a battle with pediatric cancer. And it was then that I kind of took that curiosity and just transformed it into a passion. I started going to places to actually seriously investigate because I was curious about life after death and what comes next. And I found that a lot of these haunted locations, especially the ones you see on TV, really, really infamous doom and gloom locations, are really difficult to access. Either you have to be famous on a team or have a decent amount of money in order to book these places. And I'm none of those things. So I turned to haunted hospitality, these haunted restaurants, these haunted hotels that are just as historic as the places you might see on TV and just as haunted. And they're a heck of a lot more enjoyable to go visit because they have heat and electricity and bathrooms and food and drinks. Yep. So that was kind of why I chose to focus on haunted hospitality, especially because I'm not the only person that's ever lost someone and then questioned what comes next. Just everyone has brushes with death at some point in their life. And if you're someone like me, I'm not blessed with blind faith or anything like that. So I am very doubtful and curious. So I was just searching for answers left and right, and I still am. And so that's why I wanted to create Spook-Eats, where it's a website where people can go and look at these restaurants or these hotels or bars and be like, hey, I'm near this area or I'm traveling to this place. And instead of going to a chain restaurant, which is just, why not go to some place that's historic and potentially haunted? And you could potentially have a haunted and paranormal encounter without really having to pay that much money for the price of an appetizer or a pint of beer. you could potentially find answers to those questions that you're seeking.
That's awesome. I think it's great that you were able to turn, sort of a personal event into something that became a passion for you. I think that's an awesome thing to do. And obviously it's grown a lot for you. That's a really, really cool idea. As I mentioned before, it kind of struck a chord with me as three things that I'm, certainly interested in. And I think the three of us are.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. I did
especially food and drinks.
I know, right? That's how we came up with the idea to do this podcast, was over food.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, no good story ever starts over a salad. It's always over a beer.
True. That is certainly true.
I know. I did see when I was cruising your blog though, you did a Hardee's, didn't you?
Yes.
Yeah, I was like Hardee's. I was like, that's interesting.
Yeah, it was my first time going to a Hardee's. And I mean, there was a cookie at the bottom of my meal. I was really excited about that. I didn't know that was a thing. So, but yes, a haunted Hardee's.
That's
so.
right. Yeah.
I had a horrifying experience at Hardee's as a child, actually. I don't know if you can see this. I have like 8 stitches in my forehead.
Oh, no.
When I was a kid, I was at Hardee's and I was playing in the play area, and there was a big slide you go down, and there was a big bolt sticking out of the top of the slide, and I smashed my head right into it, and I was bleeding all the way down the slide. I had to go to the hospital. Why we didn't sue Hardee's is beyond me, because I was
hindsight is 2020.
Sorry, I don't mean to laugh at your misfortune, Andrew, but
could have had Hardee's fries for the rest of my life.
I know. You could have turned that into something great.
Cafe lattes.
Yeah, cafe lattes. Yeah. So, as I was saying before, Amanda, it's safe to say that you're incredibly busy with everything that you have going on. But I would love for you to tell us a little bit about your latest project, which you mentioned before, Feminine Macabre. Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. So the Feminine Macabre is kind of been mulling around in my brain for about a year now. So like you mentioned earlier, it's our all-female paranormal journal. And it kind of stemmed from an interview I was doing over on Paranormal Buzz Radio about a year ago right now. We were talking about women in the paranormal, historically speaking. And I was listing off women that I'm super nerdy when it comes to studying the paranormal. So I find it really interesting looking at the history of the field. So I knew these women, Catherine Crowe, Eleanor Sidgwick, these women that really had a hand in shaping paranormal study and paranormal investigations as we know it today. But as I was talking about these women, I realized that the people I was talking with and the listeners had absolutely no idea who I was talking about, which is fine. It's very niche thing. So I kind of got me thinking, well, women have been part of the paranormal since the beginning. Why is it that people don't really know about them? And then I started thinking, if you ask anyone, can you name a female paranormal investigator, they might have a difficult time, and they might land on, Katrina from Portals to Hell right now, or Amy Bruni from Kindred Spirits, maybe Lorraine Warren, but only because of the Conjuring movies right now.
Right.
And so that's why I really wanted to start the Feminine Macabre. Basically, women have been a part of it since the beginning, even before the paranormal. If you look at witches and priestesses and shamans, so I wanted to create a place where women could come together and just share their research, their theories, their findings, their ideas in a place that is, safe, as well as being a platform. Some of these women have been studying the paranormal for 30 years. Which is longer than some other women have been alive. So it's really amazing to see these women from all different walks of life, different ages, different ethnicities, different sexual orientations, different, spiritual beliefs come together to write about all things paranormal. And the thing I love about it is that it's not just ghost stories. It's not just haunted locations. It's, witchcraft and tarot. It's, dark history and folklore. It's, death customs. It was so interesting to see what women, how they interpreted women in the paranormal, quote unquote. So volume 1 of the Feminine Macabre came out back in March, and I people always say like, oh, is it good? And I'm like, what a stupid question to ask. Like, I think it's good, but it's like saying like, hey, is your kid cute? Yeah, of course I think it's cute. I made it. We had over 100 submissions for volume 1 and only 30 women made it into volume 1. It was number 1 on Amazon as a new release for a couple days, which is more than I anticipated. I actually was afraid that I would have to pretend to be like 30 different people to just get this going. And that wasn't the case, thank goodness. And volume 2 submissions are open right now. They opened up back on April 1st and they're open through June 1st. So anyone who's listening, we're opening it up to both people who identify as female and non-binary. If you are interested in the paranormal, again, whether it's witchcraft, tarot, ghosts, cryptids. We didn't have anything cryptids for volume 1, which just drives me crazy. I should have pretended to be someone to write about cryptids.
I would say, I know Andrew was very excited to talk to you about cryptids. I think he had a cryptid related question for you.
Yeah.
I was just curious, like, what your favorite cryptid is. But
I love the hodag up in Wisconsin. I think it's Wisconsin. Yes, Rhinelander, Wisconsin. I don't know why. I just know, like, when I was researching, because I wrote a children's book, the Cryptid ABC book, H was for hodag. And as I was researching it, I was like, I love this thing. Like, it eats white bulldogs, and it's like, its kryptonite is lemons, and it knows it's ugly and cries because it's ugly. And I'm like, this thing is like my spirit animal. I love the hodag. So it's a random one. It's not really famous. Like, I know people are obsessed with Mothman right now, like obsessed.
Yeah, that's a huge
him.
one.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool that you said hodag because I've never heard of that. So I'm like, oh, there's one, a hodag.
Yeah, that's a first for me. Yeah, that's a first.
I always pronounce it hodog, but like my in-laws are from the Midwest and they're like, Amanda, you're pronouncing it wrong. It's hodag. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. So I love the hodag. He's really, he's a fearsome critter from, folklore. So definitely look him up. I love the hodag.
Awesome. Definitely will. So yeah, sounds like the Feminine Macabre's got a lot going on, a lot of different things. If you're interested in anything paranormal related, sounds like a great way to get a lot of different subjects in there. And if I remember correctly, so you're shooting to do this biannually, right?
Yes, that's my goal. And my hope is that both men and women enjoy it. It's not like man hating. A couple people are like, you're sexist, you hate men. And it's like, not at all. And I didn't want to make it a male versus female thing, but my argument with that, because someone brought it up to me that I'm making it male versus female. And my counter argument for that was that, the mainstream media offers the gentlemen plenty of opportunity to showcase the work that they're doing. So you already know about the guys in the paranormal field. So this is just the opportunity to even the playing field a little bit and to just make people aware that the ladies are also here and they're also doing research and investigating with just as much as integrity as the guys. And they have stuff to share. They are so knowledgeable about their areas of expertise. And so anyone can pick this up. You don't have to be interested in the paranormal. You can be male or female, and really take away different new ways of thinking, different theories, different ideas. I learned so much from reading these submissions. So I really hope that people will pick up a copy. You don't have to be a lady to enjoy it, and learn something new with the Feminine Macabre.
Absolutely.
I'm excited to buy a copy myself. I appreciate that you don't have it on audiobook versus like having a paperback book, like a physical book. Because I think that's just going to make it so much better when I order one.
Well, and that was the thing, because everyone asked me, is it going to be like an e-zine? Is it going to be online? And I just started laughing internally because I was like, I'm so technologically impaired. No, it's not going to be online. It's not going to be digital. I know how to make books. That's what I know how to do. Nothing else. So, and that was really important to me because when I first started, I've been writing since I was a child, and only within the last probably like 5 or 6 years have I started actually getting things published and, different anthologies and stuff. And I remember the first time one of my pieces was published in a book and I got that book and I saw my name on the cover, it was life-changing for me. It really it solidified the fact that I can write. People might actually want to read what I have to say. And that's why I started actually publishing books. So my hope is that this would be the exact same thing for someone else. So it's an actual physical book, and I always joke saying that I love cracking books open and sniffing the pages. So you can do that with this.
There you go.
Yeah, and I can relate to that because, you know, when the pandemic hit, I actually started writing again and was able to get myself onto a website that I've read for a long time, a couple of websites, and that is a fantastic feeling. So I can only imagine what it must feel like to like have a physical book in your hand to see your name on that. It's going to be very rewarding.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, for sure. Kat, I know you had a couple questions about her blogs and her books.
Yeah, so I kind of did a whole crash course on Spook-Eats in the past few days. Like I lived, breathed, ate Spook-Eats just to kind of, and I'm like so excited to meet you because I feel like I've looked through like all your blogs and your website and everything. And one of the things that caught my eye to pick and choose like which blog to read was like the photography and the illustrations and stuff. Did you do all of that? Do you do all of that yourself? Do you pull some from the internet?
So a lot of it is my own, especially when it's focusing on someplace in Western New York. A lot of those are from my book. And then when it's an actual like Spook-Eats review at a haunted hotel or haunted restaurant, those are all mine. I try to take them myself. Some of the other ones that, especially once the pandemic came and I couldn't actually travel to these locations, I would have to use, public domain images and stuff, which is just the worst because that's not what you want. You can't make it exactly how you envision it. But a lot of it is my own. I've done a couple of edits. I've tried to get a little bit better with Photoshop, but still a little rusty. I'm working on it.
Awesome. I love how everything's black and white and the look and feel of it's awesome.
Thank you.
Well, and Kat's a graphic designer by trade, so she appreciates that even much more.
Yeah. And just being able to navigate through the website, like all the whole user interface. I'm like, this is so nice. This is a nicely put together blog. Like you get to where you need to go in a couple clicks, and that's all you really want from your audience. So
that makes me so happy because when I was designing it, I was like, well, I want black and white because that's how my Instagram is. It's all grayscale. And as I'm like designing, I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing, but I like it. It works. So.
Oh, yeah. It looks awesome.
Yeah, you definitely have a unique look with all black and white on the Instagram page and on the blog and everything. And I know Kat has been admiring your TikTok page the last couple of days.
Gosh.
Too.
Yes. Yeah. I was listening to a podcast that you were on, and they mentioned your TikTok. It was a recent one. I forget which one it was, but they were mentioning your new TikTok page, and I was like, oh, I love TikTok. I'm more of a watcher than a recorder, though. And I just kind of skim through them at night, like before I go to bed. But one of the ones you had was your ghost hunting kit. And at the end, you had this teddy bear. And I was like, oh, I wonder what the teddy bear is for.
Yeah, so the teddy bear, I actually have it sitting in my car right now. So that's called a Boo Buddy. And it's basically for people who are familiar with paranormal investigation equipment, it's basically a glorified K2 meter or an EMF detector. Basically, if a increase in electromagnetic energy is occurring around this teddy bear, it lights up different colors. Yeah, so the green light that's in the video is just saying that it's turned on. But then if anything weird is happening around it, it lights up red also. And the idea is that, if you bring it near like your refrigerator or an outlet, it's going to turn on because of the electromagnetic field that is creating. But if it's in the middle of a room where nothing like that is happening and you can't really find the source of that energy, then they say that's paranormal. That's unusual. It makes you stop and scratch your head. And just recently, I had a public ghost hunt, and this thing has never turned on. I spent like $80 on this teeny tiny little teddy bear. And I was like, son of a pup, this thing isn't working. And it finally, at this event we did, it started lighting up, and it was the strangest thing because you would hold it up at like eye level as an adult and it wouldn't light up, and you would lower it to the height of a child and it would light up, and it didn't turn off at all. And one of the guests who was there, claimed to be sensitive, and she said, there's something attached to that now. And I'm thinking, like, I'm not bringing this back into my house. No. Like, I don't want to bring anything else, so it's sitting in my car right now, just letting it cool off.
Oh yeah, let it simmer. Like
that's pretty cool. I had no idea anything like that even existed.
Oh yeah, they're some of the wildest gadgets out there, like ridiculous stuff. So, but yeah, the Boo Buddy.
Oh,
nice. That's pretty cool. All right, so I want to ask you about some of your paranormal investigations. So, having looked at your website, I can see that you've been to probably some of the places that are a paranormal investigator's dream, right? When I saw that you had visited the Stanley Hotel, I was immediately jealous. I saw that you got a chance to visit Robert the Doll down in Key West, which is also really cool. But I've also heard you say on other podcasts that you kind of tend to gravitate towards some of the less popular places, right? Some of the more easily accessible places, like you mentioned before. So are those still your favorite types of places to go to? And I guess, do you have a favorite investigation that you've ever been on, or a scariest one?
So yes, basically, to answer your first question, I do tend to like the lesser known haunts, just because I kind of have a working theory, and I've talked with other investigators in the field, and I'm more so a paranormal researcher than investigator. I know I've had people yell at me for saying that, because I do enjoy investigating and I do go on investigations. But I love researching places. I love the history. But a lot of these locations, especially the really, really famous ones where hundreds, if not thousands of people are visiting every single year, I do think that there is sort of a collective energy that just kind of gathers over time. And who's to say that it adds to a haunting or takes away from a haunting or kind of masquerades as a haunting? Who knows? So the really famous places for me, while they're amazing to visit, especially if you have it in your mind, you've built it up over the years, like the Stanley Hotel, it is amazing to see as you're driving up to it. But for me, the lesser known locations are so much more, potent, where if you are experiencing something, it's not the residual energy of all these people bombarding the location and coming and going. It's more, it's not diluted. It's whatever. Can't even think of the word right now. But it's just pure, I guess. Yeah. So for me, I've never really had a scary investigation, which I'm thankful for. You have those moments that you definitely have like a mini heart attack, and like you consider like, did I just pee my pants a little bit? The answer is yes. Sometimes yes. But for me, the freakiest thing that ever happened is at a location called Iron Island Museum. It's in Buffalo, New York, and it's been on Ghost Hunters. It's been on Portals to Hell. It's relatively well known in Western New York. And I was actually there by myself, completely by myself. I used to own an escape room pre-pandemic. Wow. And yeah, woo! And cool. Yeah. And we were putting in a little pop-up escape room to help with the fundraiser back in 2019. And so I was there just putting on the finishing touches, and Linda, the owner, had to leave, and she was like, I'm going to lock you in. Are you sure you're okay with staying? And I was like, yeah, it's fine. And she looked at me again and she's like, are you sure? And I was like, Linda, should I not be? Like, I know the place is haunted, but geez. So she left, and I actually saw, I don't want to say a shadow person, because I do think that a shadow person and a ghost or a spirit are two different things, but I saw a shadowy figure, but it was from the waist up, and it was in a mirror, and it was like dripping out of the mirror. Oh. And that was horrifying. I hate mirrors. Like, ask Mr. Spook-Eats. We only have one in our house. I hate it. I hate mirrors. I hate them now. After that, I absolutely hate them. So I very quickly gathered up all of my stuff and briskly walked to this safe space in the building. That was the freakiest thing. I've been back since. So it didn't scare me away, luckily, because I do love that location. But my favorite place to investigate is also in Western New York. It's called the Ghostlight Theater. And it's a place that I've been a member as a theater person, a theater nerd, since 2005. So I've been there a very long time. And I've just had my favorite experiences there. Cotton is not a word. It is, but I've captured.
It happens to the best of us. It's okay. I can't even tell you how many times I slip up talking.
I'm gonna say, I swear, this is water. I swear. But I've captured my favorite pieces of evidence there. Just today, I was actually reviewing from our public ghost hunt. And I cannot tell you how many times I have done shave and a haircut 2 bits as an experiment, and it's never worked. I've lost count. I've probably done it dozens of times. And I finally got 2 bits. So at the Ghostlight, I was so excited. So I absolutely love the Ghostlight Theater. I go there fairly frequently. And since the pandemic started, obviously they can't put on performances right now. So we've started hosting public ghost hunts there. And it's just been everything I dreamed of and more. You know, again, after my brother passed away, who he was also a very active member at this theater, and I've seen him there. I've gotten EVPs of his voice there. We've gotten photos of him there. It's being able to go there and actually research the paranormal has just been so helpful for me in my grieving process. So those are my 2 favorite places. I know they're both in Western New York, which is always kind of lame, but
okay.
I highly recommend them.
No, that's totally fine. Wow, that's and so you wrote a book about that theater as well, right?
Yeah, so it's called The Ghosts of the Ghostlight Theater, and basically, as soon as the theater got shut down because of COVID, I wanted to create a book as a fundraiser. So I just put out a call to cast and crew members, audience members, to see if anyone had any ghost stories. I knew I had so many, so other people had to as well. And we got over 100 stories from the last 20 years. They've been in the building since 2001 now, so exactly 20 years. And it's been great. We've actually raised, I think, about like $3,000 or $4,000 with sales from this book, which the book's only $15, so that's a lot of copies.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been great, you know, just to be able to know that, you know, because I love writing, I love working on books, and this was easy. People emailed me their stories. I edited them to make them cohesive and spelling, you know, correct. They're spelled correctly and stuff.
Sure.
And just, you know, published it, and people really seem to enjoy it. It's fun to just get to know the building even more. There's old photos from the 1930s. There's a little bit of a history section. There's photos from productions throughout the years, as well as, you know, spirit photos that we believe we've captured over the years. So that was a fun book to write, and to be able to give back to this building that, you know, I basically grew up going there and spending time there. And now I do believe that my brother is there from time to time. So I always said, if the Ghostlight Theater was ever not the Ghostlight Theater, it would break my heart. So
sure.
I wanted to do everything I could to help. And I really feel like people in the paranormal should step up to the plate and help preserve these historic locations, because we go there, you know, all the time, kind of bombarding this location and stuff. So, you know, it's kind of about time that we give back to these locations and the people that run them.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
100% sense to me. So
what's it been like hearing hearing EVPs from someone that you've lost?
Really weird.
Yeah.
So when when I first started investigating seriously and researching the paranormal, I promised myself that I would not look for Jed, just because it's a slippery slope. You could become absolutely obsessed and let it take over your life without living in the present anymore. And you also don't know exactly who you're talking to. You know, someone could say that they're Jed, and there's no way to really prove it. But the first time I was investigating the theater, it was just put on my heart in that moment to just ask him, you know, dude, are you okay? I need to know that you're okay. Right. And in my mind, you know, we were doing a little ghost hunt with members of the theater. So I was there. My parents were there. The owner of the theater was there, who was like a surrogate father to him. All of his favorite people in the world were in one building at the same time. So I thought, if he's going to be anywhere in the universe right now, why not? Why not here? Right. So during my EVP session, I was, you know, down in the basement with 2 of my girlfriends. And I was kind of off on my own because I was a little emotional thinking about him. And in the EVP, I ended up getting his voice saying, "I'm fine." And it was the weirdest thing because he passed away when he was 19. But the voice sounded like he was about 11 years old, which was, I always say it was like the height of his career at the theater. He played Oliver in the musical Oliver Twist. And it was just, it was the weirdest thing to hear his voice. That same night, we also got a photograph in the same location of him when he was about 11 years old. And it boggles my mind still to this day. My friend got it on her cell phone, and it's a carbon copy of a family photo that we have that she obviously didn't have access to. You can see his long brown hair. He's got a green t-shirt on. You can see the collar. You can see his jawline. He's got a backpack on. Wow. It's bizarre. So to get the EVP is amazing in and of itself. And then to get this photograph is amazing in and of itself. But to get them at the same night in the same place was just, I always joke saying, if I never caught anything ever again, it's fine. I got what I needed. But since then I've gotten more. And I've seen him there. I felt him there. But it was really weird to hear his voice. It's a comfort for me. It's a comfort. I know a lot of people, when they lose someone, they turn to, their church or alcohol or volunteer work. And for me, I happen to turn to the paranormal, and it's been the biggest help for me and for other people too.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
So I guess to stick to your paranormal research, I should say, I'll correct myself from before.
No, that's okay. No.
So I've heard you mention before that you've run into roadblocks with particular businesses that don't necessarily want to be associated with the paranormal. And for the life of me, I cannot understand why a business would not want that as part of their reputation, because I feel like that is just going to draw so much, cast a much wider net to the people that are going to come visit where you are.
Yes.
And we've had an issue like that with a place in Plymouth that I won't name, but has given us pushback about something like that. So I'd be curious to hear your thoughts, and if that's something that you still run into from time to time.
Oh yes. And surprise, I'm just so surprised when that happens, because right now I feel like haunted or paranormal, those are buzzwords. People are obsessed with haunted locations, the paranormal. I mean, I feel like paranormal reality shows are hotter now than ever before. And if people are looking for places to eat, you're not going to necessarily lose someone if you say you're haunted. Because people who don't like those sorts of things usually don't believe in them, so it's not going to really affect them. But if you have someone that is genuinely interested in the paranormal or historic haunted locations, you're going to draw them in. I do, every so often, I do get those locations that, don't want to associate with the paranormal or with any sort of haunting. And it's a shame to me, because it is a part of that location. There's one area in Western New York that it's a former asylum, and everyone knows that it's a former asylum. You're not hiding that fact. It's just everyone knows about it. And
right. Tough to hide that.
Yeah, exactly. And especially it was open since until the 1970s. So it's not like you're hiding anything. People know about it, and they just don't want to have anything to do with it. And it's extraordinarily haunted. And it's a shame to me, because again, if you believe in these ghost stories, then there are individuals there that are potentially looking to be able to communicate and share their stories and say their names. And no one is allowed to do that, which to me is so heartbreaking and so upsetting. So, I mean, I always feel like it's a disservice, not only to the location, but to the potential spirits that are also residing there. So I'm hoping that over the next few years that more and more places that try to hide that aspect of their history or their location in general just kind of open up to the idea. This location in particular said that, paranormal investigation and paranormal in general add to the stigma against mental illness. And at first I was taken aback by that, because I thought, paranormal people are so empathetic. People are literally empaths, and so sensitive. But then I started thinking more about it. And I thought, you do have asylums that host haunted houses or paracons. And when you think of an asylum, you do think of that stereotypical crazy person in the corner rocking back and forth, muttering to themselves in a straitjacket. And that is a stigma. A lot of people who were in asylums, there was something wrong with them. Maybe they had epilepsy or they were bipolar or, things that are really common nowadays. And we understand them so much more now. Back 100 years ago, they were locked away and deemed crazy. So I could see how it does lead to this, adding stigma to mental illness. But I still think that there's a better way to go about it than just putting a full-on ban against the paranormal in general.
Yeah. I never even would have considered that. That's a great point of view there. But yeah, I'm with you that I hope more places tend to embrace this, going forward.
Yeah.
All right. So I think, this wouldn't be a complete podcast if we didn't talk to you a little bit about some of your culinary adventures for Spook-Eats as well. And I know Kat, as an avid foodie, does have some questions for you. And myself included, we both are. I mean, we both love to go to new places, try new food. I mean,
yes.
We take a million pictures of food. Sometimes more pictures of food than we do of each other when we're out. So
yeah, that's actually pretty accurate.
Well, you see each other every day. You don't always see that meal. So.
That's true. That is very true.
I was gonna say that we, so Mike and I, when we were dating way back in the day, we used to watch The Walking Dead when it was out, when it first few seasons, and I came up with the idea that we watched it on Sundays, and as a Sunday supper kind of idea, we'd do Walking Dead meat dinners. So we would make something that we could gnaw on while we were watching the zombies eat people.
I love that so much.
Kind of messed up, but we had rack of lamb or ribs or turkey legs or something that you could just sit there and gnaw on, and we're like, is this super messed up?
No, it's freaking awesome.
Yeah. And then we got her roommates into it for a while too. So I think people at first were looking at us like we were a bunch of weirdos, and then they kind of this is pretty good food, and I think I'll probably get on board with this.
I love that.
Yeah.
But so in the whole food world and, bopping around to different places and trying different stuff, what is the best meal you've had at the scariest location?
Oh gosh. So best food at the scariest location for me. Oh gosh, that's good. No one's ever asked me that. They always say either at the scariest location or the best food. So to combine them together, I would have to say the creepiest place for me is the Farnsworth House in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. And I think if you talk to a lot of paranormal people, the Farnsworth House or just Gettysburg in general is always mentioned. Yeah. Always. So for me, I first went to Gettysburg in 2004. And that was really the first place where I went on a ghost tour and actually realized people actually visit these places and study this stuff. And so we went to the Farnsworth House for dinner, and I had, read the book, one of the books, Ghost of Gettysburg by Mark Nesbitt. There's a lot of them. But I read one of them, and they talked about the Farnsworth House. And so we ate dinner there, and I was absolutely petrified the first time I was there because I was just thinking of all of these stories that I read about. And what I love about the Farnsworth House is that when you go there, it is it's like a time capsule. You're stepping back in time. It's dimly lit. It's decorated 19th century Civil War era. The people who work there are dressed in period clothes, and the food is period and also very localized. So they use a lot of ingredients from Pennsylvania and even just Gettysburg area in general. So my favorite thing there isn't even a full-on dish. It's an appetizer, but it's a goober soup. Goober, like peanuts. It's a peanut soup.
Nice.
It is so good. It's the weirdest thing. It's a little sweet. It's a little salty. It's not peanut butter soup. It's just peanut soup. And I always tell people, if you go to Gettysburg, A, you have to go to the Farnsworth House, and B, you have to order the goober soup. It's just so unique. I've never seen it anywhere else.
That sounds it. That's
ever.
I would eat that.
So good.
100%.
Oh yeah, I'd try that for sure.
My stomach is growling just thinking about it right now. It's so good. So for me, the Farnsworth House, I always, whenever I go to a location, I do look at how they honor the history of the location. And for me, if anyone goes to the Spook-Eats website and they see my Farnsworth House review, it gets a 10 out of 10 in my spooky rating because it honors the history. It honors the ghost stories. It is creepy walking in. And I mean, the building, if you ever look at it, there's still bullet holes on the side of the building from the Civil War. So it's absolutely fascinating. And not to mention the food is just incredible, and the goober soup is one of my favorite things I've ever had. Spook-Eats or not. I absolutely love it. I'm obsessed. You can't tell.
Because I was thinking, I was like, well, I mean, we've been into places. There was a specific place in New Orleans when Mike and I went. We just stumbled upon it because it was raining cats and dogs out pretty much. And we wanted to not be that far from our hotel and like have to walk in these torrential rains all the way back. So we just stopped in this little bar, come and find out that it was the upstairs bar where it had, there were 32 people that were murdered. It was a huge like massacre. It was known as a gay bar.
Yeah.
The biggest mass shooting or mass.
It was a mass hate crime at that point in the country, and I think it was like over 30 people died, over 20 people died, something like that. But it's at a bar called the Gemini in New Orleans, and we had no idea. And we walked into this place and we sat down and we were just having a drink, and somebody was like, "You don't know the history of this place?" And we were like, "No," and they told us, and we were just like, "Oh my god!" But I guess Ghost Hunters has been there, a few other places.
Oh, wow.
It's got a pretty big reputation.
Yeah,
very sad story. Yeah.
Yeah, when I heard that, I was like, "Oh my gosh!" So 32 people died in like above where we're sitting in this building, and I was like, "That's really like that's like
it's heavy."
Yeah, the only thing you would ever know, like the only thing you would ever see that would let you know that anything happened there is if you walk out right where the entrance to the upstairs part of it is. There's a plaque right in front of the door with like, a symbol, and it's got like, initials of a bunch of people that died and everything. So it's very, very eerie and very creepy.
Yeah.
So Kat, I agree. That's probably the creepiest place we've gotten food and drinks, I would think, for sure.
I was thinking, I was like, well, you probably want to go to a place that has great food, but like, would you stay to eat the food if you were scared? Like, if you were that scared and the food was that good, would you stay? Like,
absolutely.
Food trumps everything. Food
yes.
Yeah. You need to eat. What was I going to say? So I can see that you've done quite a few places in the Northeast, including Salem, Mass. I've seen you've done a few places that Kat and I have been. I saw Turner's Seafood and the Mercy Tavern up in Salem.
I love Mercy.
Yeah, Mercy was cool. Mercy was pretty cool. We had a pretty good time at Turner's Seafood that time that we were there too, Kat. That was pretty good.
I had a cool like smoke on it that they like lit on fire. They lit like rosemary on fire, and then they kind of put it out. And it was cool. Yeah.
Cool.
So I have to ask: have you ever been to Plymouth, Mass, America's hometown?
Funny story. The short answer is no. Long story is that I was supposed to. First time going to Salem, I think was in 2009 or 2010. And my dad and my brother, they had been to Boston a bunch. They had been to Plymouth. And so when we went to Salem, my brother insisted that we, let's go spend a day in Boston and go to Plymouth. And we have to do it. For whatever reason, our GPS, I don't know, had a brain fart or something, and we got so horrifically lost that we spent hours trying to get, and I'm like, it's not that far away. How difficult is this? So we got so lost, and my dad got so frustrated that we ended up turning around. So it is on the bucket list, and I was very close to it. But we got so horrifically lost, and I still don't let my dad forget that. Like, you got so angry at the GPS.
Maybe you got caught in the Bridgewater Triangle and it started messing with you.
There you go.
Yeah.
I should. Yes, we're gonna do. We'll blame that instead.
Yeah. Well, because I was gonna say it would be right up your alley because there is an excellent bar and restaurant scene downtown. A lot of places to visit. The food down here is great, and there are a lot of places with a pretty strong history of paranormal activity. Obviously from Burial Hill Cemetery to the John Carver Inn to a bunch of other places down here. So it would be very interesting for you to come visit. There'd be a lot for you to blog about.
Yes, I'm hoping again. Because I have a girlfriend that's obsessed with Salem, but she's never been. I was like, girl, it's not that far of a drive. You can make it in an afternoon. So
yeah, Salem's awesome.
Got to get out that way again and actually not get lost this time as we're traveling around.
Yeah.
No.
Someday we can all travel around again like it was,
I know. God, the good old days. Yeah. Well, if you're ever down this way, look us up. We'll show you around.
For sure. I whenever people say that, I'm like, ooh, ye be warned. I am going to do that.
That might take us up on it.
Yes.
Yeah, we would love to take you on a culinary and drinking tour of Plymouth. That would be a lot of fun.
We're gonna do it anyway, so.
Yeah,
right?
we do it pretty frequently, so it's nice to have some guests with us, you know?
Right?
So.
There's an excuse now.
All right. Andrew, Kat, you guys got any other questions for Amanda?
Well, my question was kind of the same as Kat's. I was going to say, what is the best cocktail you've ever had in the scariest place you've ever been? But
Oh gosh, no, that's a good question too, because I'm an alcohol girl.
aren't we all?
We're an alcohol.
Cheers.
Group
Yeah. Oh gosh, I'm looking at my map really fast to see. I'm gonna have to go with kind of an embarrassing answer. So hopefully no one's a vegetarian. But
Nope.
when I was in Salem, I went to Rockefeller's and they have a great drink menu. And I had several. It was raining out, so what else are you gonna do? Exactly. And I love Bloody Marys. I'm obsessed with Bloody Marys. So they have a Bloody Mary there that has a meat straw.
Oh,
And
yeah.
Wow.
they
Is
had
it
me
like
at meat.
it's not like a Slim Jim straw, like Twizzler kind of.
Slim Jim.
Yeah.
Yes. But it was I was like, I said, like, I didn't even read like what the rest of like the hors d'oeuvres on top were. I was like, you had me at meat straw. Like, I'm here for
Yeah.
it. So
Meat straw.
Amazing.
yeah, yes.
That's awesome.
So I love that. Also, to like not like as an I don't, not that it's an embarrassing answer, but I always feel uncomfortable saying the words meat straw. But the other one would be at Turner Seafood. I got it called Bridget's Orchard.
Ooh, I saw the picture of this. Yeah.
Yes, I always describe it as a big kid's apple cider.
Ooh,
So
nice.
good. I had two, which turned out to be an accident because they're strong. So good. And I loved it because they took the history of the location. You know, they say supposedly Bridget Bishop's apple orchard was where the Lyceum is now. And I loved that. So that's why I ordered it. And it was delicious. It was so good. So I love when places have specialty cocktails because I'm a sucker, I guess, for the kitschy, little gimmicks. So I love them.
I'm with you.
I mean, it's
Who
hard to
doesn't love
turn
a
down
good
a meat
cocktail?
straw in anything. So I'm like, oh,
Yeah, meat
I know.
straw.
I would.
I mean, I can honestly say I'm a Bloody Mary connoisseur myself, and I've
Yeah.
never come across a meat straw before. I think probably the craziest one I've ever had was up in Kat and I went up to Portland, Maine, and there's this Irish pub called Brian Barew's, and they have I believe the Bloody Mary is called the Hangover Destroyer, if I remember correctly, and it's got it's just a tall Bloody Mary, and they give you a slider on a skewer on top of it. It's like a little mini cheeseburger on top of it.
Oh
That was
my
probably the
gosh.
wildest thing I've ever seen, but never seen a meat straw. But I'm gonna have
Meat
to
straw.
I'm gonna have to seek that out for sure.
Yes, I was gonna say it was worth it for sure.
Yeah,
The best one I ever had shrimp cocktail in it. That was pretty good.
I'll take that too. I mean, I'm not
take
gonna say no to that.
Any food you want to put in my drink that I don't have to pay for, I'll take it.
Yes.
Come on, it's like a free meal with my drink. Thank you.
Wait, I have one more question.
Go for it.
So actually the only paranormal hunt that I've really been on was in Barnstable. We went to the old jail with Derek from Capers, and he was talking to us about some of his own experiences. And you kind of mentioned having like a bad paranormal experience with the teddy bear and letting it like cool off in the car. He's been talking about that he's had spirits like kind of following him home or something. Like he's had these weird things that kind of made him into a funk for a while. Have you ever had something like bad kind of follow you home or like get too close to home that made you like extremely nervous?
No, and I know that's a super boring answer, but I take that very, very seriously. I'm kind of hit or miss. Part of me thinks that things are not as likely to follow you home as like television might make you think. Just because, at least in my mind, this is a location that clearly was special to this individual, which is why they are still there.
Right.
So why on earth would you want to follow me back to my nasty apartment, my nasty house? So I always tend to think like the likelihood of something following me home, I don't think it's really as frequent or as common as people might think. However, just in case, I do take it seriously. My husband, he totally supports this. He absolutely loves that I do this. But his one request is don't bring anything home with you. And I don't feel like I live in a haunted house, and I never want to feel like I live in a haunted house. I like going to haunted locations. I don't want to live in one. I have a little one at home. It's the last thing I want. So I do, I have, various, and I don't know how much stock I put into them, but I've got, my little crystals and incense and all those little things just to be on the safe side. I say my little affirmation at the end of the night. And in the case of the teddy bear, I'm just going to let it cool off for a little bit, like purge it with sage or Palo Santo or something. Again, I don't necessarily know how much I believe something would follow me home, but to be on the safe side, I'd rather be safe than sorry. And knock on wood, so far, so good. Nothing has happened. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. That guy Derek from the Cape and Islands Paranormal Research Society, like that was like the one thing that he mentioned to us. I think we asked him, like, if you had to give some advice to somebody that wanted to try out paranormal investigations or paranormal research or what have you, he said, don't do it at your own house.
No, that's rule number one.
Don't play with a Ouija board at your house. Don't do any of that shit. Don't do any of it. Just
never
do it somewhere else.
Investigate your house. Don't investigate your house. My husband and I were working on a piece of equipment that's supposed to pick up spirit voices, and we would actually go to the Ghost Light Theater just to turn it on to see if it works, because I'm like, I don't want to turn that on in my house. I don't want to know what's in the basement.
Yeah. Probably a great idea. Great idea.
Rule number one.
Yeah. Kat, Andrew, any other questions?
What's well, I can say my last questions.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
So what else are you working on now? Like, what's next for Spook-Eats?
Oh gosh. So I don't know when the pandemic will be over with. So traveling is still, painfully somewhere on the horizon. When I'm allowed to travel again, my husband and I, we have a Route 66 trip planned, where I want to do all of the haunted bars and restaurants and hotels along Route 66. So that's someday in the future, once it's safe to really start traveling again and get out there. But right now, focusing on Feminine Macabre Volume 2. Also, I'm working on a book that is the oldest bar in all 50 states. Some of them are haunted, some of them aren't. So it's a little bit of history, a whole lot of alcohol, and then some ghost stories. And then I'm also working on a project that I feel like might get a little bit of hate, but it's focusing on how bars are haunted many times by the spirits of prostitutes, and kind of like why that is, and then really focus on these female spirits that a lot of these locations, they protect them. They're really protective of them. They share their stories, and they're really part of these locations' identities. So kind of looking at how their hauntings have almost offered eternal life or immortality to these women that would have otherwise been just nameless blips, in local history. So I'm excited about that, but I'm also prepared for a little bit of hate for it. So we'll see.
Haters gonna hate,
Yeah.
Yeah, there's always somebody out there. Just ignore the noise. Ignore the noise. But I am incredibly jealous of that Route 66 road trip. That sounds awesome. Yeah, that sounds like a great time.
It was supposed to be last year, so yes. Can't wait.
Everything got delayed, unfortunately.
Yes.
Oh, God. Amanda, help settle a debate for me, will you?
Oh, sure.
Kat and I have been going back and forth about creating a TikTok account for America's Hometown Horror.
Oh,
Yeah, we have. Should I pull the trigger and do it?
So
I've been close.
I would follow you.
Okay. Okay.
It's so funny that you mentioned the TikTok. I feel so old. I'm like part of the geriatric unit over there. I still have no idea what I'm doing, but it's so much fun. I think you guys should do it. Because it's fun, and why not? Why not?
Okay,
do it. We got a couple good ideas for a TikTok.
So we do have a good couple of ideas. Maybe
whether or not anyone else think they're funny.
We think they're funny. That's really all that matters. Maybe we'll go viral. You never know. You never know.
Exactly. You never know on the TikTok.
Yeah, on the TikTok, indeed. So yeah, maybe we'll do that. I think we'll do that.
I did have one final question.
Yeah. Go for it.
Very softball down the middle. All right. So you're sitting down to watch your favorite horror movie. What is your go-to snack when you're watching that movie?
Oh,
because that's important.
Well, I usually have a beer. but that goes without saying.
Yep.
Oh gosh. Snack. I would say I love pickles, which is weird. I eat them by like the handful.
That is not weird. That is not weird at all.
I
Some
drink
people-
pickle juice. So.
I do too. It's my hangover remedy.
Oh, it's so good. It's got all those electrolytes. in it.
Electrolytes, exactly. So either that or I do twirly popcorn because we don't have a microwave. So I do like making the twirly popcorn, which is kind of a boring answer. Everyone eats popcorn when they watch
Like
movies.
Jiffy Pop?
Kind of, yeah, like Jiffy Pop. So yeah, boring answer, and then a good beer. Always a good beer. Usually
Well,
a
you gotta
stout.
There you go. Nice.
Solid decision. I like it.
There's actually a place that just opened back up for the season down on the waterfront. That's one of our local watering holes that just made a new low carb option for a hot dog, and they put it in a pickle bun.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. The
I don't-
pillory
Big
pub.
old pickle with
Yep.
the middle
Yep.
cut out. It's so good.
I don't know how I feel about that.
Oh, trust me.
It's
It
good.
involves a meat stick and a pickle. I think you'd like it.
Fair enough.
Oh God. Yeah, we love that place. That's a must. That's a must try when you come out to Plymouth. Is the Pillory Pub.
Pillory
God,
Pub.
Okay.
we love that place.
Pillory pub for the pickle bun.
In the
Yes,
Mayflower from
exactly. And yeah, the Mayflower, the Rock, you get the whole nine. You'll be good to go. All right, my esteemed co-host, do you have anything further for Amanda?
That is it for me.
No,
Awesome.
I'm excited. Thanks for chatting with us.
Yeah.
This has been great. I've had so much fun talking to you. This has been great.
I loved the horror aspect and then the ghosty stuff. So these are two of my favorite things. So
We
I loved it.
have a pretty diverse interest around the horror spectrum between the three of us. So we like to try and cover a lot of different bases. So
yes.
Yeah. But yeah, thanks a lot for your time. We certainly appreciate you coming on and talking to us. And I would say if you do not right now, make sure that you go follow Spook-Eats on all social media, which actually, Amanda, where can people find you on social media?
So I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and the TikTok. It's all just at Spook-Eats, nice and easy. And then my website is SpookEats.com. And if anyone listening is interested in submitting something to Volume 2 for the Feminine Macabre, if you go to SpookEats.com/Feminine Macabre, you can read the submission guidelines there.
Awesome. And they can buy all your previous books on there as well in the shop?
Yep. SpookEats.com/shop.
Great.
Do you
Excellent.
you submit doodles?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll submit my killer clown.
Cat loves to draw.
I was confused about submitting doodles.
We just opened it up to artists this time around. Because last time they were like, do you do pictures? And it was like, well, no. But now I thought I was like, well, why not? So
yeah.
It could be a nice break page.
There you go, Kat.
Exactly. People like pictures.
Right. Yeah.
I know I do.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
me
the less
too.
words, the better.
Huge. All right. Well, thanks again to Amanda. And if you want to follow us on social media, you can find us on the following platforms, including YouTube and Facebook. Just search for America's Hometown Horror. You will find us undoubtedly. You can also tweet at us at Hometown Horror. And you can also find us on Instagram at Hometown Horror Pod. And you can also drop us a line via email if you're into it, if you want to. hometownhorrorpodcast@gmail.com. And you can also find our show pretty much wherever you get your podcasts, but most specifically Apple, Google, Spotify, Amazon, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Spreaker, and wherever else you may get your shows. My name is Mike. I've been joined by Kat and Andrew as always. And thanks again to Amanda of Spook-Eats. Say goodbye to your audience, everybody. Bye.
Thanks, Amanda.
Bye.
Nice having you.
Thank you so much.